I can't say I was that hyped up about the new Super Mario Bros. Movie, probably because I'm not that big on the Mario IP, but also because it was being made by Illumination of all people, the king of safe storytelling that doesn't take any risks, and the voice cast did not really help for as memey as they were, but the trailers did show some promise, but I was also a little bit worried if the movie was just going to end up being an extended version of the trailers, something that Illumination is famously known for. So I would say my expectations for this movie were pretty mellow, and after watching it, I don't really know how to feel about it, but based on my expectations, I gotta say, I got exactly what I was expecting. Putting aside the fact that somehow Illumination's audio mixing is getting worse and worse, yes, this is even worse than Minions 2, for once I can say that I was able to watch an Illumination movie without my eyes hurting. For the past few Illumination films, it seemed like they were doused in 60 FPS, pastel colors, motion blur, Vaseline or something rather. Whereas here, the animation honestly is pretty beautiful. The set pieces and the designs of the worlds are wonderful, and the action is actually pretty great, though it's nowhere close to giving other action works a run for their money like Rise of TMNT or Princess Principal. I would also give credit to the character animation and the world building, but honestly, I don't think that's really fair because it literally came pre-packaged with Nintendo's involvement. And even for as silly as the voice cast was, the voice actors honestly did a pretty tremendous job with this film. Jack Black as Bowser was easily the highlight, especially given his Peaches song. Like, literally, it is unironically a bop. It had me in tears, rolling on the floor, laughing in the theater. And everyone else, I think, did pretty great as well. And I was genuinely surprised with Chris Pratt's performance. It wasn't bad. I was expecting it to be so. But honestly, this movie doesn't do a whole lot for me personally. I'm sure it does a whole lot for the fans. But as a movie, why does this movie feel so short for 90 minutes? And why is the story so complicated, delivered so basically? The one big negative of this movie that I see a lot of people talking about is that the pacing is a bit off. A bit off might be pushing it for me because personally, I think the pacing is abysmal. It keeps zip-zapping around all these different parts of the story that don't even last that long, so we barely have enough time to digest what exactly is happening between these different scenes. And these different scenes don't really connect that well in the end. But I also think that could have been helped if it didn't focus too much on fan appealing than if it focused on, having an interesting story and interesting characters. Generally, this feels like another one of those movies that's like an Easter egg factory. Fans might have been drawn to that, but given that I just don't really care about Easter eggs all that much, I was experiencing a case of Easter egg fatigue. And because it was so focused on cramming almost everything Mario in it, it barely left enough time to focus on character moments that showed their personal struggles and their insecurities. We're given some insight on Peach's backstory as she is the only human in the Mushroom Kingdom, but then they don't do anything with that. It's just said once and then never again. Donkey Kong says something about, "My father thinks I'm just this strong, brainless idiot, but I'm more than just a strong, brainless idiot." Why wasn't this brought up before, and why is it never brought up again? Mario and Luigi have a pretty sweet bond, very genuine feeling connection, but they're separated for most of the film. Heck, I completely forgot that Mario had this whole thing about trying to impress his family, especially his dad, until like 70 minutes after the story begins. So yeah, this movie feels like they were playing it safe, but instead of copping out with kid-pandering bathroom humor, it's filled with fan-pandering Easter eggs, which is honestly way better than bathroom humor, but not saying much when you don't have interesting factors. Yeah, the pacing and the complete lack of risks took me way out of what was otherwise honestly a pretty engaging narrative. Ultimately, I didn't come out all that impressed, but it is easily Illumination's best movie, and it's still kind of average in the grand scheme of things. 5 out of 10. And very briefly, just because it was released around the same time as this movie, I want to quickly talk about the finale to The Owl House. Without a doubt, one of the best series, period, and honestly, the best animated show that isn't of the anime medium. I love this episode so much. It is simultaneously one of the most epic and cozy finales to any show, and it is a more than satisfying conclusion to a very ambitious project. I love these characters so much. The animation just pops off in this special, as well as the soundtrack, and the whole ending narration got me a little bit teary-eyed. Sure, this might not satisfy all the fans, and there are some questions left unanswered, or that just don't have very satisfying answers, but this series will always be one of my personal favorites.